continuing with just a few more sessions. I'm not sure exactly how many on our 7 core values of the IPHC, but we do have just a little ways to go to finish out. And we are talking about the 7th value. We prayerfully value generosity. And turn to Proverbs 11 with me. Proverbs 11. Then I'm going to, let's see, there's somewhere else in Proverbs I want to go to. Yeah, Proverbs 22. Proverbs 11, then we'll flip over to Proverbs 22. And then we will go to Isaiah. I didn't write these down, so I'm having to go on memory. But we will go to Isaiah chapter 32 after we leave Proverbs. We talked about last time as we began looking at core values, we came from John 3:16. We talked about how that God is love and that love is giving. God so loved the world he gave. And God's always giving. He's a giving God, and he really expects his children to have a heart of generosity and a heart of giving. And that's kind of the foundation we began to lay on this particular section. And there's a lot in dealing with generosity that we're going to begin to see that possibly we'd never thought of before in terms of generosity. In Proverbs chapter 11, stand with me. We're just going to read just a few verses from each one of these chapters. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 25. It says, "The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that waters shall be watered also himself." Now understand the word liberal there is not the same term as what we hear today when we hear the word liberal here in this country. It's totally different meaning. What the word liberal means here is generous. You can say the generous soul shall be made fat or be enriched. The generous person will be enriched. He who waters shall himself be watered. In other words, he who gives refreshing and waters others with refreshing, they themselves will be refreshed. They will be watered. Then you flip over to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 9. Now there's another word used here in the King James. It says, "He that hath a bountiful eye." Now again, that word bountiful is also translated generous. "He who has a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he gives of his bread to the poor." The Amplified says, "He who has a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he gives his bread to," well, it says the same thing, to the poor. Then flip over to Isaiah chapter 32. Isaiah 32. And verse 8 says, well, first of all, let's read verse 7. "The instruments also of the churl are evil," or the instruments and the methods of the churl means fraudulent, "are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaks right." But then verse 8 says, "But the liberal," or again, the generous, "devises generous things, and by generous things shall he stand." The Amplified says it like this: "But the noble," liberal in the Hebrew means generous, means noble, open-hearted, So the generous, noble, open-hearted man devises noble, generous, open-hearted things. And he stands for what is noble, open-hearted, right, and generous. Father, thank you again for your word. Teach us, as we sang a while ago, show us your ways. And the greatest way you can show us your ways is through your word, your love letter you've written to us. We ask you this in Jesus' name. And God's people said, amen. You may be seated.